this wasn't the first encounter I'd had with this big tom. During the opening morning of Missouri's turkey season, Grant and I spent most of the morning playing with two toms that were sure fired up. The toms were within range, but the brush was too thick. We could just see the top of fans and red heads bobbing up and down every now and then. And at one point, we had those toms within 30 yards. We had great cover, but Grant just couldn't get a good shot opportunity as those toms worked through the holes in the brush. And Grant wisely gave him a pass. We let him drift off to play with another day. The next morning, Grant and I were on a different portion of the property, and Grant punched his tag around 8 a.m. Grant's tom hit the ground, and another big tom came running in, showing that dominance, and didn't waste any time pecking and showing who the new king of the mountain was. The next morning, I was behind the Winchester, and I had to decide what toms was I going to go chase after. And I decided to go down to the southern end of the property and chase those two toms that were really fired up just a few days before. Those toms were still in the area, and once you know it, they were gobbling like crazy, and they kept Colby and I on our toes. We even switched trees once we heard them on the ground, moved up, another 60, 70 yards, repositioned, overlooking an old logging road that those toms had walked during Grant and I's hunt. I thought, man, if they hold to that pattern, they'll walk right down this road. But once you know it, they go out into that big open pasture behind us, so we have to spin around the tree. Throw a few calls, get them fired up, and they turn, start coming back in the timber. It sure sounds like they're gonna hit that logging road again. So we spin around the tree once again. Just about the time we get around the tree, get settled, there's a red head sticking up through the brush.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, PH Outdoors, Moultrie, Steel, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, Fourth Arrow, Soil Pro Outdoors, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Burris Optics, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
This tom was about 50 yards away, and I knew he was in range. I didn't want to shoot through all that brush. Didn't want to deflect any pellets. So I let that tom just turn and drift off again. As I sat against the tree, I wondered, maybe we should reposition and try to keep working those birds. But then I remembered Grant's hunt and how when he had shot that tom, that big tom came in and started showing dominance over that bird. There was probably a change in hierarchy. And I figured that tom being by himself, he might be a little aggressive and we might be able to call him in. So Colby and I packed it up we went to the north end of the property, up to that same ridge where Grant had tagged his bird the day before. All right, we switched positions, came over to the other side of the property. Actually gonna be trying to hunt that second tom that was with Grant's tom yesterday morning. We didn't call yesterday. That tom hasn't been called too. Midday, he likes traveling this ridge up on top of this road. So we're gonna see if we can strike him up. Got a single hen out here. Little ideal food plot. Of course, the clover in that fall release is just really grown, headed out. It's beautiful right through here. A lot of clover. Have a bigger food plot, large destination plot we call prickly pear, just right over here. And up on top, there's a little knoll. We call it Pop's Mountain. And toms midday love to get up on top of that mountain, gobble, listen, and then change elevation, go lower based on where they hear a hen. But I suspect midday that bird's probably up on top. We're gonna see if we can strike him up. Only a few minutes after a couple calling sequences, I heard a hen start yelping right back at me. She was fired up and just over the ridge. There's nothing better than a real hen yelping and heading your way. Who knows, she may be bringing a longbeard in tow. That raspy old hen was talking and looking, and she came to about 7 steps. You can just barely see her in the GoPro, but she was right there. Poked her head out, kind of saw something she didn't like, turned and started putting away. As she was putting, I was trying to give a few yelps to cover that sound in case the longbeard was close by. It wasn't long before I heard drumming out in front of us somewhere in the timber. After a few minutes, that big old longbeard we were looking for stepped out. This was the tom that had been running with Grant's bird, and he was a ways out there. I kept kind of going back and forth. How far is he? How far is he? Hoping he'd come a little closer. Colby and I were both on edge, trying to see what this tom was going to do. Reading his body language, I could tell he was a little timid. Kind of did a little quarter strut, and I'm thinking, uh-oh. I'm looking at that distance and I'm going, I'm pretty sure he's under 60 yards. Now remember, I had patterned my Winchester before season at 20, 40, and 60. I knew my pattern at 60 yards was great, but I was waiting to see if he'd drift a little closer. About that time he turns and I could tell he was gonna go back into the timber. So I took my Burris Fast Fire E red dot, floated it right above his head, and pulled the trigger. 51, 52, 53, 54 yards, longbeard XR. What a bird. What a day we've had. It's about 1 o'clock. Finally, after multiple encounters, we got a toad on the ground. Big old beard, actually a double bearded tom. I believe this is the tom that was with the bird Grant shot yesterday morning. Grant was actually hunting about 200 yards up the ridge here. Knew this bird was probably still in the area. When Grant shot his bird, this bird was on top of it. You knew he was the big boy in that group. Suspected now he's by himself, this ridge, he's owning it. So we came in midday here thinking this bird would be up here. Actually right behind us, there's a big food plot, and up on top of that ridge. We know historically from hunting, punching tags, and from our mole trees that midday, toms love going up on top of that point, gobbling, listen. It's that high point. It's pretty open right there on top. They can get up there, really listen, and sound off, find those hens. I'm sure that's what he was doing. I had given just a couple calls, and once you know it, I heard a hen down here in the woods, and I was like, whew, that's good. Maybe this tom was with a hen. Maybe she'll be bringing him right by. She actually popped out right by us. Saw something she didn't like, kind of putted away. I started calling a little bit, try to cover up that putting. When things got quiet, I was kind of thinking, man, maybe we need to scoot out of here. Been silent, and all of a sudden, I heard drumming. Didn't know where it was. I told Colby, I was like, don't move. He's strutting somewhere. About that time, he gobbled, and he was right here in the timber, and I could hear him drumming there a little bit. He stepped out, saw the decoy. That decoy caught his attention, kept him there in the road. I'm sure based on his behavior, kind of doing that quarter strut, he'd been whooped up by some jakes, and he was a little cautious, and finally I couldn't take it anymore. I kept thinking, man, I think he's in range. I know he's in range of that longbeard XR. Using number 6s, of course, patterned before season. The results, fresh turkey meat. Man, he's got a nice beard on him. Ozark Mountain spurs, what we called, you know, the chipped on rocks and whatnot, but beautiful bird. Love to be taking him out of the woods this morning. Hey, I hope you're able to get outside this week and enjoy creation, maybe do some turkey hunting or look for morels. But no matter what you do, slow down, enjoy creation, and listen to what the Creator is saying to you. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.